I had a blast being able to have a hand in designing and developing the looks of some of these newer characters. So, some of the Doom Syndicate characters and some of these other villains, and being able to be part of creating those characters was just, I had a blast.
Eric, I will turn to you first. You are a newcomer to this franchise, directing the sequel. What was it like getting to be a part of this franchise with its major cult following already from the first film?
It's an honor. It's an honor to be invited in. I was a huge fan of that original film, and when I knew that Brent and Alan were coming back to be part of this, I was all in, and couldn't be more excited to be part of it.
That's awesome. And so Brent and Alan, I'll turn to you guys next. It's interesting. I remember reading around the time the movie came out that DreamWorks wasn't initially thinking about a sequel, but now here we are talking about not just a sequel, but also a TV show. How long had you guys been sort of percolating ideas for a follow-up to this?
Like 15 years. It was like even before the original came out, we kind of just had this idea how, suddenly where the story goes next became really interesting to us. And there were discussions for all, off and on in those years, and then, we just kind of fell in love with these ideas, and, we were just kind of like, just happy to have that movie, and maybe it was a one-off. So when, DreamWorks approached us about doing, a TV project like 7 years ago, it was so great to bring these ideas back that have just been stuck in our head that we were kind of excited to get out and tell them.
And the good thing about a TV show is that, we had a lot of different ideas to what a sequel would be, and, too many ideas. And now we've got a chance to tell them all, which is fantastic.
When I came in, it's always a little nerve-wracking, meeting, new people. Brent and Alan were such great collaborators that it just made it so easy for a newbie like me to come in and just sort of put our heads together and help sort of brainstorm and sort of map out the series. It was really fun.
That's great to hear. I'm glad. I mean, that's what you want, is a nice collaborative experience. So I'm glad you got to have that.
We all clicked right away, which was good.
We were big fans of Eric's, going back to Celebrity Deathmatch and The Head. So, we were really jazzed to work with him.
So Eric, what would you say then were some of the ideas you may have brought to the table that weren't already on Brent and Alan's mind when they had this whole universe planned out for what was to come?
One of the things I remember talking about early on was the introduction of this big bad villain known as Machiavellian, and sort of how to introduce that character. And I remember talking about, sort of teasing him out bit by bit. So maybe you don't get him all at once. And we sort of talked about this through line where they have to sort of recreate his body by stealing elements and ingredients. So it's kind of a slow burn to get to his reveal by the mid-season. And that was fun to sort of be part of that and try to figure that stuff out.
Yeah, it created more of a mystery around him, which was good. So there was definitely a slow burn. It's like, who is this guy and how bad he's going to be? And then in the second day, you see he's terrible in a good way.
I'm definitely intrigued to see more of him. Just from even the post-credits tease, I was like, oh, okay, I like this. So one of the interesting things, and probably what was one of the most challenging things for you guys, was bringing in a new voice cast for both the movie and the show. And I know that obviously with Hollywood schedules, it can be hard to get back anybody, let alone to do both a movie and a TV show. So I'm curious, was the thought process to sort of start fresh and find new voices for your characters, or was it the scheduling thing of you weren't quite sure if you were going to be able to bring certain people back?
Yeah, there's like a lot of internal discussions we're not privy to, but I think like it ultimately usually comes down to time and having such a big, having Megamind and this ensemble around him, that's a lot of people's schedules. to kind of organize. And so I think it was decided early on that, to find, fresh talent, but also we were lucky enough to get Keith Ferguson, who was, Megamind's voice in a lot of video games and some of the commercials when the movie came out. We even cast a wide net, but we always came back to Keith because, not only does, he, have that experience kind of speaking in Will's voice, he's such a talented voice actor that he's able to kind of, take the baton from Will and build on what, Will created. And it's a collaboration, even though these two guys, I'm not sure if they've even met. It's such a cool and interesting thing to see.
There's a term that DreamWorks likes to use when trying to find these voice actors to replace people from the movies, and they don't like to call them sound alikes. They call them feel alikes. And I think that was a thing that we sort of latched onto with Keith, where he was able to sort of build on that character, and sort of add layers to it, which you need because we're expanding the world now and expanding relationships.
Yeah. So Will Ferrell has only done the voice for 85 minutes, whereas Keith has now done it for 10 hours.
Hundreds of minutes. And the same goes for all the cast. Laura Post as Roxanne, Josh Brenner as Chum, Maya Akoi Tuttle as Keiko. They all bring just a real pathos and just bring these characters to life. And it's so fun to see them all and hear them all interacting.
Well, you've certainly built a great ensemble to, like you all have said, carry on the baton from the movie's actors. So I kudos to you on that. Brent and Alan, I wanted to come back to you next. One thing I noticed about the movie and the show in comparison to maybe the original movie was it had a bit of a lighter, maybe younger demographic tone. And I'm curious if that was that always kind of the intent, was to start skewing more towards younger viewers with these new projects in comparison to the original?
There's the introduction of the new character Keiko, who's like a younger character. So yeah, that younger point of view does come in, but we didn't want to write down, and DreamWorks didn't encourage us to write something, strictly for kids. And so kind of, as the show goes, we're entering the movie kind of through her eyes as she's introduced to the world and the team. But as kind of the bigger story plays beyond this movie, very much tonally it matches up to the movie of kind of the intense situations these characters get into, and it's certainly humorous, but it's the stake, it's we like to write, it's broad humor but grounded stakes, and so the team's really going to be tested.
The goal with the movie was just to make a fun movie for the whole family to enjoy, because that's what we want the show to be. Families to sit down and watch it together. But it does, as the show sort of progresses, there get to be, I don't want to say mature themes, but it gets to be, like Brent said, a little more like the tone of the movie. And I think people would be really surprised as the show goes on how good it is.
Well, I'm really curious then to see where that goes, because I mean, where my screeners left off, it's getting there, not quite there, but I'm curious to see where you guys take it. Eric, I'll return to you next. I mean, obviously they had the look of the original movie already to feel this cinematic superhero like epic. What was it like for you coming in and trying to find your own unique look and feel to this while staying true to Brent and Alan's vision as well as the original movies?
It was really important for me just to sort of have continuity, which is a challenge when you're working within a TV animation budget and schedule. But I think, luckily we were able to pull a lot of those original assets from that original film. We did have to do a lot of updating to the assets just because it's been, 12, 14 years have gone by and technology's improved a lot. But because technology has improved so much, I think we were able to really get pretty close to the look of that original film, and I'm super proud of what we were able to accomplish with it. And then, coming in fresh, we're introducing a bunch of these new characters. So I had a blast being able to have a hand in designing and developing the looks of some of these newer characters. So, some of the Doom Syndicate characters and some of these other villains, and being able to be part of creating those characters was just, I had a blast.
Well, I did actually want to touch on the Doom Syndicate with all three of you. I think they're such a fun group to battle Megamind. My personal favorite is Nighty Night.
Sure.
One, because of the irony of his name, but also just he's got that Batman style quality that just kills me. And I'm curious for each of you, who was your favorite to help develop and bring to life? I guess we'll go with Eric, Brent, and then Alan.
I also am a big Nighty Night fan, and that was one of the characters that we did invent sort of from scratch.
Yeah.
There's some of the other Doom Syndicate were sort of there were versions of those that were developed over time, but Nighty Night was one that that was original. So sort of figuring him out and then seeing what Brent and Alan did with like capturing his voice, and then having Talon Warburton, son of Patrick Warburton, come in to voice that character, just lent this credibility. And it's he's really he's funny and manages to be funny and sort of pathetic at the same time, which is a tough dance, and he pulls it off. It's so entertaining.
I'm gonna have to agree. With Eric, I also liked what was great about Nighty Night is how he was kind of born out of kind of this collaboration. Initially, there was another character we had in the Doom Syndicate, and the idea of the Doom Syndicate, and they were originally in the original movie, and ultimately we kind of cut them out. But like the idea of them were like they're these characters, and each of the personalities, brings out something in Megamind, and so we kind of realized we had two characters that might have been a little just too similar visually, and so we kind of thought about it. It's like, well, what else can we have in there? And Alan and I went away, and we're like, well, what if it's like this kind of just guy who's just really emo? He's like a Hot Topic employee, a little too into his job, and annoying the other Hot Topic employees, and it kind of changed the whole dynamic, and that came out out of these discussions we had with Eric and our other collaborator JD Risner, so I kind of like that he was a creation of all of us. Now
I'm going to change it up. I'm going to say it's either between Lady Doppler and Pierre Pressure. Lady Doppler I like because she actually is the smartest one, but she's just frustrated because she has to listen to these idiots. But I also like that she is also a little dumb with not knowing the weather, being a formal weatherwoman. And of course, just Pierre Pressure because I love the name. And, I was a fan of Marcel Marceau when I was a kid. So he's sort of a reference for that. So I think those are my two favorites.
Doppler might be my second favorite. She's funny as can be. And
Yeah.
Since you mentioned the dumbness and always saying the wrong weather, I'm actually curious about that. Did she actually know what she was conjuring each time or was she so out of control of her powers that she was actually trying to conjure what she was saying and just mistakenly conjuring the wrong thing?
I mean, it's a story to be told, what's going on there. But yeah, she is not good at predicting her own weather. And so you're going to find out her and Roxanne have this history.
I love that. I because that was a question I kept going over in my mind while watching. I'm like, maybe she actually did intend for a landslide and not a tornado. Who knows?
I'm going to say probably.
Well, I'm curious to see where it goes. And so since we've kind of talked about, building out the universe, developing these stories, do you guys have future plans for, if this takes off and DreamWorks is happy with the results that come from this?
Yeah, Brent and I, and Eric, we've talked about what the future seasons would be, and we've sort of have a rough roadmap with how this show would go until the end. So we just need to get that opportunity.
That's exciting. Can you give me any teases of what we might see in future seasons?
We're just waiting for the phone call, let's make more, and we're ready to go.
Well, I think they should make more. I mean, franchises like this and Monsters versus Aliens, those genre spoofs, I love them. So I want to see more of them. With talking about new characters, though, I'm also curious about returning characters. The movie, I think it was the movie mentioned Titan. We haven't really heard any mentions of Metro Man. And who knows, maybe it's in the episodes I haven't seen. But I am curious, have you guys had any talks or considerations about bringing back some of those characters for future stories?
May have had some discussions about bringing certain characters back, and
so maybe you won't be surprised if that does happen, but that's about as far as we can say.
Fans should be pretty happy if they stay tuned.
I think we can say that there may be a tease at the end of episode 8, and that's all.
That's true. Yeah.
If you stay through to the first batch of episodes, the last scene of episode 8, there's a tease.
Okay, I am gonna have to do that then, because I am really curious to see who it is that might be coming back. They gave me 5 episodes, so I've only got a few after that. But I'm excited.
You'll know on Friday.
Well, I love it. I can't wait to see it. Well, I see I'm out of time, guys, so I will get on out of here. But thank you for taking the time to chat with me. I greatly appreciate it. Like I say, I really look forward to see what you guys continue to do with this franchise. It's been a lot of fun so far.